Hey, today we're going to be building a welding cart. Subscribe and leave a comment in the section below on what you want to see in a welding cart. This is my first one, 140 Lincoln MIG welder on the top, Chinese Accurate Tools plasma cutter on the bottom. Got some big wheels at the back, little casters in the front, some ankle biters that'll catch you when you're not expecting it. I really didn't plan that all the way through when I started building it. I did create a cool hook that goes on the top of the tank to hold all the cables and everything. Brilliant idea. Wonderful. Loved it. Except I would always forget to put it on when I filled the tank up. On the front, I have this crazy little holder for the cool MIG welding pliers and a bracket on the side which held 3 angle grinders all just set right in there into place, which worked until I picked up a 4th angle grinder, and that doesn't fit anymore. So I wanted something nicer, prettier, newer. So I ordered up a MIG welding cart kit out of a length of tubing, and here it is all cut up, ready to go. So we're going to start making this. Yay. It's good to have a flat work surface to get yourself a little bit more organized and clamp stuff down, and hopefully if the surface is flat, what you make will be flat. I'm using a carpenter's square, TIG welding, not TIG welding. I'm not TIG welding. This is MIG welding. So I'm MIGging all the corners together to try to hold it. You can probably see from quite this distance away that there's some disastrous gaps in the corners. That's actually a bit of an issue in welding this together, but it's a welding cart, not the Starship Enterprise, and it will work. Check diagonals to make sure it's true, and then I check it for flatness on the table, and stuff moves, right? So I put a piece underneath and tweak it and get it flat so it sits and not rocking, and then I can start welding up the rest of the corners. You can see me muck with the settings on the MIG welder once in a while to get it dialed into what I want. And you're going to see a whole bunch of on and off and on again, flash, 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 flash. And if that gives you seizures and makes you do the funky chicken on the floor, leave a comment below about how that ruined your day and put you in the hospital. And hey, if I'm really nice, I'll show you one of the nasty gaps. See, you can't weld air, and I apparently measured 45 at not 45 because I can't miter wood to save my life, or metal, or probably cheese. So that's going to take a fair bit of stitching to stitch it all closed, which is going to be on, off, on, off, on, off, and you're going to hate looking at that. So if you find your brain seizuring, close your eyes or look away or subscribe for more exciting, flashing, wonderful fun while we're welding. So when I stitch stuff together, I kind of blast it for like a second or two, let the red just fade and add another stitch. And it keeps the heat down. You can set the welder to whatever the settings are inside the machine. I tend to run the welder just a little bit hotter, or sometimes just a little bit less wire feed, and that seems to weld nicely for me. You can do whatever works for you. There's a chart in the welder that will give you a ballpark of what it should look like or what your machine should be set at. I got a cheater lens in my welding helmet because I'm old. I got one foot in the grave, the other on a banana peel, and I can't look through the bottom of my lenses and still see where I'm going with my progressive old man lenses. So I got a cheater lens to help me out. Downside is I can't see very far. I can only see stuff close up. I'm going to get a hammer and smack that right hand side just to get it sitting flush. A couple more tacks. Once it's tacked all up, I can go to town on the welding. See, that's a nice fitment there. See, not much in the way of gap. Good welding. Oh, I like that. Put it down. Go back to work. Break it up. Back to work. Now, there's probably a way you're supposed to move around on the metal so it minimizes warpage, and I can never remember, so I just try to move around in an equal kind of way until I get it all welded up. This is the center post. My plan for the design is to have all the shelves of holding the equipment holding on to only this vertical post up the center. I suspect it's probably not going to be rigid enough, but I'll find out soon enough. Check it with a square, hold it down, tacking, checking. It's a whole lot easier to change it if you've only just tacked it. A lot of my students just want to get so excited and they weld everything and then discover they screwed up. And then they got to try to unweld everything to fix whatever they screwed up on. And that's harder to deal with. So the base of this is 1.25 inches, I think. And then these shelves, this is the first of the 2 shelves, are 1.5 inches. I think it's all 16 gauge. relatively light, easy to work with. And yeah, you can see those disastrous gaps just staring at you like, wow, do you not know how to measure? Apparently not. So I cut a chunk out of the left-hand side here so that it'll kind of straddle the post up the middle and hold her all together. I figured it'd be kind of neat. All the shelves just kind of floating there. I bet you a nickel it's going to be way too flexible. So here's the next shelf. Same kind of thing. Get it square, tack it up. Always good times. When you're starting out as a welder, when you're starting out learning how to weld, it's awfully tempting just to keep on welding. You got to force yourself to just tack it together. Once you've cut it apart, you go, yeah, I wish I only tacked that. That would have been a whole lot nicer. But I don't always think things through. Here we are at the full welding. Yay. I hope it's a better fit. Oh, no. It's the funky chicken. Leave another comment down below if you find yourself doing another comment. If you've got 2 comments, leave a comment telling us that. I feel like I'm having a seizure right about now. I'm going to look away. Oh, wait, I'm welding. I can't do that. Haha. You know, it's even worse when you speed it up. This is 6 times the speed, which is a bit excessive, I think. It's been a good welder. I picked it up at a Canadian Tire sale. I think it was probably $500, maybe $400. I don't remember. Traded in a bunch of Canadian Tire money, and it's been good. I run 75-25 argon CO2 for a MIG gas. And for a cheap, off-the-shelf hardware store kind of welder, it's certainly satisfactory. One down, one to go. Interesting how some of these joints seem to weld pretty good and the other ones are clearly liquored. I blame the person who cut the steel up. And the corners. Now this probably is warping all over the place, but it's a welding cart. It will be fine. Now, at some point, the camera battery went dead, and you're going to see me just kind of magically have stuff joined together, I think. So, fixing it, straightening it, measuring. Oh, yeah, we're all together now. What happened? I don't know. Probably had a seizure and finished welding. I found it too flexible, so I've got this 1/2-inch square tubing that I'm going to put in at an angle to support the 2 shelves off of the base. Give it some kind of a bit of a style to it, I guess. And then trim them at the very carefully measured angle with the Sharpie. Snip. Cut slow down, I say. Slow, cut slow. And then I put this because I don't think I really thought out exactly what angle I wanted, so I made some better marks so I know where it should be to line everything up. Off to the belt sander, sparks, make it fit, looks good, love it. Take the sharp edges off. And then I thought, yeah, I probably should grind off the beads on the tops of the shelves. So there we are. Actually using a sanding flap disc on that, not a grinder. Grinders tend to go from just a little bit more to, oh, crikey, that was too much. So this is flap wheel on there. If you look at the back on the black toolbox, you can see my other angle grinders sitting on that edge now, since I have 4 of them. I'm not going to put them back on the welding cart. I use them for other things. So now, trying to get the bracket in a pretty little location. Tack that beast in. Oh, that's weird. That's a lot of smoke. Wonder what happened. Oh well, didn't notice. So while this is just a welding cart and I'm trying to do accurate measurement, there's a fair bit of this that is just kind of done by eye. It's like, yeah, that looks about right. If you got a good eye, you can do a good job of it. Some folks don't have a very good eye at all. That one kind of stuck. Do we even need to weld it? Why, yes, yes we do. So if you measure carefully and have the thing nicely lined up, it's sort of what I wanted is to make it look like the half inch was scooching right through all of the metal. As a kind of neat little support. You can also see some tabs on the bottom that are going to hold the shelves. That was just scrap 1/8 inch flat. Here I'm welding a half inch. I think it's a half inch washer. Center punch in the center, putting the step drill through, but it doesn't really get all the way down with 5/8, so I got a 5/8 Deming drill, I think they're called, which is always an exercise in why am I doing this to myself. It's a nice big drill bit that catches every moment. Here I wasn't drilling at all, so quick sharpen. I kind of just eyeball those two. But quick sharpen, back in the drill, and then it usually catches and tries to break my wrists, but eventually goes through. The extra washer makes the metal thicker so it supports the axle going through. It's not like the axle is really going to need it. I'm using bearinged wheels anyways, so it's not like this is going to be a source of rolling friction, sliding friction. Step drill, golly, those are the 7 wonders of the universe right there. This one caught a lot. And on and off and on and off. And finally got her through. Yay. Probably should have drilled the hole first so the step drill could easily go through the 16 gauge. But, whatever. Hey, now we're taking everything off of the old cart. Bye-bye, old cart. I don't like you. Getting the plasma cutter out of the bottom. It was cool. I had an unboxing of the plasma cutter that I was going to put up, but there wasn't anything exciting. And if you do a quick look of unboxings for that Accurate Tools plasma cutter, everybody and their dog has done one, and there's nothing magical about it. Mine did not explode. It didn't burst into flames. It worked fine, so it wasn't an exciting video. Getting the old impact. I bought a Milwaukee drill and impact cordless set, and my gosh, I've been happy with it. The impact is fantastic. When I first bought it, I thought, what am I going to use the impact for? Till I used it, and I went, wow, I'm using it for freaking everything, because these are awesome. And adapter to put sockets on it, that's cool. This one bolt, for whatever reason, didn't want to come undone, and the wrench couldn't fit, so I just welded it to the frame, and then I could get the nut off. I had used, I think, like 5-inch long, 5/8 bolts and nylock nuts to hold the wheels on, but I don't think you really need it. It's not like I'm going to be doing 50 miles an hour in the welding cart. So to attach the casters, instead of doing plates and welding those on, which I've done, I just got 1/4 inch by 20, I think 1-inch long bolts and coupling nuts. They're like a really long nut. And I figured I'd weld those right onto the frame. Should be easy to attach and provide a decent place for the castor to bolt onto. And I only did 3 because, 75%, that's like a B, I think. That's not bad. Don't need to do the other 4th hole. So yeah, zip them all on there, line them up so they look pretty, weld them, boom. I dropped it on the floor, but I tried to pick it up quickly so you didn't see that. And then tack. It doesn't look like I'm tacking it. Apparently you can go straight to fully weld this. I mean, why not? Don't weld the castor itself, because if you ever have to change it, that's really hard to undo. Plus, welding the chrome or zinc coated stuff is really not good for your lungs. Get enough of them welding fumes. I think they call that welder's fever. Not much pushing, but a whole lot of wiping. So here's a ring that goes on the bottom to hold the bottom of the tank so it doesn't slide out, slip out of the cart, break the valve off the top of the tank, and shoot around the room, smashing everything in its path. This was just bent on the vise, and here I'm trying to make it look reasonably round. And it'll sit right there. It's nice if you can find things around the shop to set spacers for when you're going to weld it. 2x4 work good. Welder on. That'll hold the bottom of the tank. There's a pretty classy one on the top of the tank. I'll probably have a link in the description for where you can get the plans for this if it excites you. I missed screwed up on not getting a video of the top part of the tank, but you'll figure it out. I don't have a bench that's really heavy enough to hold me pulling on anything, so my hand shear I bolt onto my horizontal bandsaw, and it keeps it kind of in one little place. This is just capping the top of the tube, piece of 16 gauge on there, works good. Weld it, sand it, prime it, paint it, bop it, spin it, twist it. Oh yeah. Got to be kind of gentle with the belt, not the belt sander, with the disc sanders, because they can shape things a little more aggressively than you want. It's best to sneak up on it so you don't really make it look funny. Belt sanders are wonderful. I pretty much only use this one on metal. I know it's really meant for wood, and at work I go through one of these about every 2 years. They fill up full of grinding dust and then burst into flames. So this one survived me pretty good at home. These are the plates to go on the cable holders on the side of the welding cart. I think they're probably 1.5 by 5 inches of 1/8 thickness. Piece of pipe, cutting her down on the horizontal bandsaw. Love horizontal bandsaws. Go do something else while it's cutting. Love it. And I cut 2 pieces off of this, and then I sliced them in half. So here's the rings, one of them. Put it up on the lathe, and I turned the cutter around so I can try to get rid of the wobbling, but didn't go quite as pretty as I thought it should, and then thought, yeah, it's a welding cart. So I faced the edges nicely, and I turn it around, do the other side, make it nice and purty. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this is actually a cutting machine. It says written right on the side, cutting machine. Anyways, this is what they're going to look like. Tack them together. Ta-da. And I figured 3 would probably do me. And I didn't really come up with a magical measurement of all this. I just, yeah, it looks about right. Well, they're all up. And what's left? Probably a handle, I think. So 3/4 inch tubing. Cut it, probably 1/4 inch narrower than the frame itself, so I could have 2 supports that are 1/8 inch thick. And then figuring out how far away it needs to be. Bolt the hand shear onto the horizontal bandsaw. Get some flat bar and choppity chop chop. Then I got thinking, yeah, I need to support that. If it's 1 inch supports, I need a 1/16 of an inch underneath. So I just had an offcut that would work. Basic handle. And then don't want to cut my baby soft hands when I'm doing the welding on here, so belt sander. Yay! Sparks. Love them sparks. Surprisingly, the mason jar didn't fall on the ground at all through the whole thing. It got pretty close. You see it move there? I think I'm almost nervous it's going to fall and hit the ground. Oh, it looks so close. Leave a comment down below and subscribe if you think it's going to fall over. There's the handle. I figured I would set her down on the top of the table. Yeah. That thing's not sitting very level. Probably worked. Let's clamp her down. Do I care? No, I don't. Tack welds. Then we'll get into fully welds. Pretty welds. Leave a comment down below and subscribe if you're still doing a seizure on the floor. Add another comment if it's carpet. Then, I don't like paint on the floor, so a good old tarp. And I threaded in a couple bolts in the castor threaded fastener area thingy. And then paint the bottom side. I'm using trim clad flat gray, which is pretty darn close to the same color I have on the chair rail, which I guess is baseboard, but it's fairly high, around my workshop. And the gutters and the basic trim is all trim clad gray-ish. Goes good with the green on the concrete walls. Now you find all your crappy welds once you have painted it, so don't be surprised by that one. Trimclad changed the way their cans work. It used to be you'd spray a can upside down to clean the tip out, but Trimclad decided in their infinite wisdom to make them spray in any position. So if you're hanging upside down from a rope on a concrete retaining wall to defend your girlfriend's honor with a can of spray paint, you probably are going to be happy with these paint cans. But if the paint sticks in the tip and you can't clean out the tip, you're going to be disappointed with a full can of paint and no way to get the paint out. So at times I just soak the spray bomb tip in a container of lacquer thinner to hopefully clean out the schmoo inside of it. A little blast with compressed air usually does pretty good. There we are. Gray. So sterile and industrial gray. Cool. Let it dry. I think you got a couple days window there. Casters go on. This was a couple days later. Wearing black pants now. Ooh. And zippity doo dah, zippity day. The wheels go on. That went nice. Then we got the axle. I'm not going to thread the ends because I don't think it's really necessary for a cart that really doesn't go any faster than you can pull it. So I marked the ends and I'm going to center punch and drill some holes and just use an 1/8 inch cotter pin in there. It's easy, it works. Nice little radius on the vise helps hold round stuff up to the drill press, which I haven't decided where I wanted it in the shop, so it's not bolted to the floor. Hasn't fallen over yet. And drill a hole. You want to lighten up near the end of the hole because it likes to grab the edge and break the drill bit off inside, and then you'll be sad. Drilled. Take the sharp edges off. Done. Slide her on through there. We put the wheels on. I think we're going to get close to assembling everything. We need some shelves. Now, this is the paint I used for the concrete walls in the workshop. I used a basement waterproof sealer paint to go on foundation walls, like a primer, and then I just use a regular high quality latex. And yeah, paint her on. Leave a comment below and subscribe if you can't stand the color. I like the color. Subscribe and leave a comment below if you like color. That's pretty vague. If you like any color. If your world is black and white, subscribe and leave a comment below. I probably won't read any of the comments. Whatever you do, don't leave a comment below. If you've left a comment below, delete it. And subscribe, telling me how you love comments. I might even comment. Alright, put her all together. This is what it looks like. We've got the MIG on there. We've got the plasma cutter on there. We've got an extra spool. Sits up all nice. We've got all the cables on the left-hand side. I'm pretty ecstatic. subscribe and leave a comment below on all the mistakes I made and everything you'd like to see done differently. I probably won't see it. See ya.